Welcome, Facebook live stream viewers. Thank you for being with us today. I'm very excited to introduce you to my guest today. This is Mr. Jim Caldwell, who's the Vice President of Marketing for LifeWave, our sponsor. So, Jim, please say hi to the Facebook people.
Yeah, greetings and salutations. Great to be here. I've known Paula for a little bit of time now, and I think she is so good on radio, and I'm tickled to be able to be here and hang out with you and discuss world affairs.
Thank you. I think I'm going to blush. Thank you so much.
Sure.
And I'm really glad you're here too. So, thank you all for being here, and we are about to start this show. So, sir, you can exit stage left.
All right.
Or is that right? Mm-hmm. Jim will be back with us in just a few minutes.
Tired of the rut you're stuck in, but don't know what to do? Change it up. Join life transitions therapist, speaker, and best-selling author Paula Shore. She'll be exploring topics that make change and the challenge it presents smoother and more productive. She'll also be spotlighting change makers who are leading the charge to make the world a better place. If you're ready to live a more exciting life, at home, in the workplace, and around the world, it's time to step out of your comfort zone and change it up. Now, here's your host, Paula Shore.
Welcome to Change It Up Radio here with Paula Shore. Delighted to have you with me today. We're doing a fun show today that I'm calling Marketing a Miracle. And with me a little bit later will be Jim Caldwell, who is the Vice President of Marketing for LifeWave, our sponsor. And you may remember LifeWave is that company that I am so passionate about because they make those phototherapy patches that are changing lives. They've certainly changed mine, changed the lives of my family, and many, many people, friends and people in the world that I know that have stepped on board and are using them. So we're going to find out more about those amazing patches in a little bit with Jim Caldwell. Now, I want to say welcome to any of you who are new to the show. We are on Change It Up Radio. We're all about dealing with change. So that means our mission is either to bring valuable information to people to help them cope with the upheaval of change, or to spotlight change makers, people who are out there trying to make the world a better place. And we definitely have somebody with a company that's doing that today, and our guest, Jim Caldwell. And also, we will be checking in with his son, Carson Caldwell, who, by the way, does not know that Jim's with us today. So that's going to be a fun surprise in our second segment. Those of you who follow the show remember that Carson Caldwell, a 24-year-old young man, a very cool young man, is riding a bike barefoot across the United States to raise money for the starving children in Yemen. I am just so tickled about that. And he is, those of you who have been following us, you know that he is a delightful guest on this show every week as we follow him across the country. So last week, I believe he was in Roanoke, Virginia, and I'm not sure where we're going to find him today. So please stay with us so we can find out where in the country. One of the things that we have been doing in recent weeks that I'm really enjoying, excuse me, is a segment that I'm calling Some of My Favorite Things. So, you know, in that segment, I've been talking about different tools, processes, and tips that I can share with you to help you when you're dealing with the ups and downs of life. And one of the issues that really struck me very, very strongly this week, both in my private practice, which most of you know, I am a life transitions coach. I work with people who are dealing with change. I'm also an author and a speaker, and I've written these 3 books, actually. One was Chakras, the Magnificent Seven. The second, Grief, When Will This Pain Ever End? And then the latest one, saying in the course of writing those books, and in the course of my practice, I use a lot of tools. I long ago was a participant in Just Talk therapy myself, and I found a lot of value in it, and it certainly helped me in many ways. But I would get to a point where my therapist would say, I'd say, okay, I've got it. I see I do that, but what do I do about it? And they would look at me and say, well, you just got to let that go. And I'm like, cool, okay, how? And there was never an answer until I discovered the field of energy psychology. And then they started showing me things like tapping meridian points, which we now know sends calming signals to the amygdala and shifts energy. We started working with the energy centers that we call chakras, and the meridians, and the biofield, and the subconscious mind. And all of a sudden, there were all these cool tools to actually help you let go and shift the energy and make real change in your life. So one of the tools, or one of the topics that really hit me this week is anxiety. Anxiety is a huge, pervasive problem among all age levels in our society. Even children experience anxiety. I mean, we're all familiar with separation anxiety when babies first realize who mom is, and when somebody else takes them away from mom, that's cause for crying and anxiety. But more and more today, life is so full and life is so busy. I was just saying to a friend my age the other day, I don't remember needing a daytimer when I was a child. But children have schedules today. You know, they've got to be at this lesson on Monday and band practice on Tuesday and tutoring on Wednesday. And I remember we came home, we did our homework, and we went and played. And sometimes for hours, and nobody was worried about us. So things are very different now. And anxiety is a much more prevalent problem. In fact, here's a few statistics that I found about anxiety. Generalized anxiety disorder affects 6.8 million adults in the United States. 6.8 million. And yet only 43% of those people are getting any kind of treatment or doing anything to help their anxiety. Ladies, I'm sorry to tell you this, but women are twice as likely to be affected as men. And it oftentimes in women occurs with major depression. What's interesting now is we're getting some really interesting research on what causes anxiety, and it's a complex set of things that can cause it, including genetics, brain chemistry, personality, and life events. So the bottom line is it's kind of inevitable that at some point in your life, you're going to feel anxious. And one of the things I know about anxiety is it pretty much lives in fear of the future, fear of some future event. And it usually is couched in a what if statement. So like, what if my presentation doesn't go well? What if I break my leg? What if I get cancer? What if all the money disappears next month and the children can't eat? And those kinds of questions, the what ifs, take us out of the moment. And remember, we've talked in the past about the fact that the only place we really truly are alive in our life is in the moment. Everything else is past and future. And when we get to the what if question, we're going off on a little trip into the future, and that hasn't even happened yet. It doesn't even exist. So I like to think of just pulling it into the present moment, and instead of taking off on this terror ride of what ifs, let's start looking at what is. So instead of what if I get cancer, what is? I did really well in my last checkup. I'm very healthy. I have a good diet. I exercise every day. I'm doing all the right things. Instead of what if, all the money disappears tomorrow, what is? I have X amount of dollars in the bank. There's food in the cupboard. The mortgage is paid. So these kinds of statements, the what is statements, bring us into the present moment and what's real. And unless somebody's holding a gun to your head, usually what exists in the moment is not scary. The scary piece lives outside of the moment. It lives in a future that we're dreading, a future that we're afraid of. But the cool thing is, if we're comfortable in the moment and we live that fully, not only do we really live our lives and really get to experience them, but we live more joyfully, more peacefully, more calmly. So my vote is for being in this moment. And believe me, I'm just as good as anybody else of getting out into that anxious future. And one of the things I was just telling someone yesterday, and one of the reasons I'm excited about our sponsors, LifeWave, is I used to be that person who would fall asleep, no problem falling asleep. But if I woke up in the night and started thinking about all the things I had to do or all the things I didn't get done, then it would be hard for me to fall back to sleep. But LifeWave makes a patch, a total chemical-free patch that I can put on at night, and I sleep like a baby through the whole night. Now, that alone is worth the price of admission, right? Because sleep problems affect 50% of the people in this country. And guess why? Because of anxiety. That anxiety is robbing us of our sleep, and that's when we repair. That's when regeneration is going on. That's when cells are replicating and things are happening to rejuvenate your body. So if the sleep isn't good, the life isn't good. And for sure, the next day doesn't go all that well. So we got to dump the anxiety. We need to come into the moment, calm ourselves, take some nice, beautiful breaths, and think about all the blessings that exist in that moment, all the things that we can be grateful for rather than the tomorrows that we dread. And remember, by the way, the statistics are that it's something like 90% of the things you worry about never happen. So that's good news, right? Okay, so in our next segment, something wonderful is going to happen. We're going to be finding out where in the country is Carson Caldwell, who is riding his bike across America to help feed the starving children in Yemen. So don't go away. We will be right back with Carson Caldwell.
We'll be right back with more Change It Up with Paula Shore on AM 1170, The Answer.
Now, more than ever, it's important for women to understand why they need a financial strategy. Women tend to make less money than men, live longer, and face more financial challenges during retirement. Hi, I'm Cherie Blair. With evolving roles and increasing responsibilities, women are seeking out ways to become more knowledgeable about their finances. My life's work has been to empower women to make good financial decisions today to help ensure you have a bright future tomorrow. I'm here to help you learn more and to become more. Give me a call for your free no-obligation consultation or a second opinion at 619-997-0416. 619-997-0416. That's 619-997-0416.
Cherie Blair is registered with and securities are offered through Brokers International Financial Services, LLC, member SIPC. Brokers International Financial Services, LLC is not an affiliated company. California license number 0B42369.
Hi, I'm Kelly Klein of OneTrust Home Loans, Loan Coach Kelly. A while back, my business was in a slump, and it triggered a lot of self-doubt and fear, and it even had me questioning if I'd made the right career choice. So I booked a session with Paula Shore. And after hearing my predicament, she explained that when we get into negative, self-sabotaging thinking and we are being run over by our limiting beliefs, it's almost impossible to create positive outcomes. She helped me clear those destructive thoughts and beliefs using her cutting-edge energy psychology techniques. Not only did I feel a whole lot better after the session, but within 2 weeks, I had 7 loans in my pipeline. I was so glad that I went to see Paula Shore. And you should too. It really changed my perspective on life, business, and now my business is going great. You can reach her at 626-864-0756. That's 626-864-0756. 626-864-0756. Or check her out at paulashaw.com. That's paulashaw.com.
Welcome back to Change It Up. Now here's your host, Paula Shore.
Welcome back to Change It Up Radio. Paula Shaw here, and we are about to check in with Carson Caldwell and find out where in the country he is on that barefoot bike ride across America to raise money to help the starving children in Yemen. So, Carson, are you there?
Yes, Paula, I'm here. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? And where are you?
Yeah, I'm in Illinois right now, in southern Illinois, in a town called Carbondale.
Uh-huh.
And I'm about 100 miles away from St. Louis, Missouri. And going to get there in the next couple days. And, yeah, everything's going great so far. I crossed the Ohio River on a ferry from Kentucky into Illinois, and that was pretty interesting. And,
Cool.
yeah, it's been an incredible experience so far.
And how many miles have you gone? Do you know?
Definitely over 1,000 since I started, but I don't have an exact number.
Mm-hmm.
But I would guess around 1,000 to 1,100 miles so far.
You know, I just had a thought. You know those Fitbits that people wear to try and know how many steps they've taken in a day? If you were wearing that, would it calculate miles or no?
It might. Yeah, I'm just kind of like a minimalist person. I could definitely have like a cycling computer that would track my speed and mileage, but I'm just I don't know. I'm just kind of more interested in just like simplifying the experience as much as possible, really.
Yeah, I know. I was just talking with my guest about how you were saying you don't listen to music because you want to just hear the natural sounds around you. I love that.
Yeah, it's also for safety reasons, too, just to kind of keep my ears open and be ready, you know, for all types of things that might come my way.
Yeah. Well, Carson, I have a little surprise for you today.
Oh, okay. What is it?
Well, my guest is somebody that I think you may know. His name is His name's Jim Caldwell.
Oh, boy.
Oh, wow. That's my father. Hello, Dad. How you doing?
I'm well. Carson, how the heck are you, man?
I'm good. Yeah. In Illinois, in Carbondale right now. So, yeah, making progress.
Yes, you are.
I was talking to him the other day, and I said, well, listen, in case you wonder where your son is, you could drop by on Tuesday for the show because he always checks in with us.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've been keeping in contact with my dad almost every day. So, yeah, we communicate frequently.
Well, I couldn't imagine being a parent and having my child out there doing that and not having daily contact. That would be, talk about a reason to have anxiety. I was just talking about anxiety in the first segment. So I think you better check in with mom and dad every day.
Well, Carson,
yeah, it's always great.
You've been great about checking in daily, and what I'm finding interesting about your trip is that, you know, your observations and your unique perspective on what you're seeing and what you're experiencing and what's important to you and what you're noticing, you know, the way you're diving into the history of the areas in which you're going through, and you have a sense of what used to be. And sometimes I'm sure you feel like you're back there because it is relatively rural. There's no one else around. What's that like as you're traveling through some of those areas where you really are by yourself?
Great question.
It's kind of, I would say, mentally liberating, just simply because I can really think about anything, and or I can really just kind of not think about anything at all and just kind of look at my surroundings. So it really just kind of depends. Some areas, like if nobody's around me, are just extremely beautiful and stimulating visually, but some areas are maybe a little less visually stimulating. But either way, it's still just a really fascinating experience to kind of be traveling on my own power on a bicycle. And yeah, like you said, the history of the area is pretty fascinating. To think that people were migrating and settling west, hundreds of years ago, and it was the frontier. So it's also an interesting thing to think about while I'm riding.
What I think is really cool is that you're probably as close as you can be to riding a horse, which is the way people did it long ago, because you're actually out in the elements. You're having to use your own body to power yourself. I mean, actually, it's probably harder doing what you're doing than it was riding a horse. But you're really feeling the feelings, feeling the air, smelling the smells. You don't get that experience in a car.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a pretty intimate experience because I can only go so fast, and but at the same time, I do kind of have like modern day creature comforts, like a phone and convenience stores and stuff. So there's a lot of sort of amenities that I have at my disposal that people settling in the West didn't used to have. But I don't know. I would say that, since I'm traveling in the summertime as well, I don't have to deal with like freezing temperatures and snow, maybe like some settlers did. So I don't know. I think you're giving me a little bit too much credit there. I think it was probably harder back then, even though I do have the bike today. I think it was definitely harder back then.
Well, you do make a good point. There wasn't a Circle K on every corner. And that does take a bit of the edge off when we're traveling. So tell me, how are you finding the people? Now you said you're in Missouri, is that right?
No, I'm in Illinois, but I'm very close to Missouri.
Okay. And how are the people? And most importantly, how are the dogs? Because we remember in the last state you were in, it was Kentucky, I think, the dogs were making you a little crazy.
Yeah. The dogs in Kentucky were definitely, a lot of them I would say were guard dogs and like not really trained to stay behind their boundaries. That was pretty crazy, honestly. But after I got into Illinois, that really sort of died down. I haven't been chased by any dogs in Illinois.
Okay.
I'm crossing my fingers for peaceful ventures in the future. But yeah, the people have been just great, extremely hospitable and kind, friendly and helpful. Because I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that I'm a traveler just traveling through. So I think people tend to kind of almost go out of their way to help if I need help or provide, information or, maybe even a place to stay, like through warmshowers.org, which is like a network of cyclists and hosts that basically help out people that are traveling like me with basically a place to stay for the night. And it's been incredible. It's been a great way for me to save money along the way.
Very good.
Hey, Carson, I'm curious, now that think about it, more than 1,000 miles into this, as you reflect back to the time when you were, contemplating doing this, thinking about it a day or two before, then you actually left, how would you characterize, how is it different than what you thought it might be? Right. And it might be a tough question to answer because you've had all these unique experiences, but is it kind of been like you thought it would be, or has it been completely different?
In my mind, before I left for this trip, I envisioned just simply taking it day by day and, having a destination for each day and then, basically figuring out the logistics of where I was staying. So it's been pretty similar to that sort of idea that I would just be taking it day by day and figuring out where I'm staying for the night. But it's also been like a real physical challenge. Like definitely I've run into some soreness. And it's pretty grueling. Can be pretty grueling in the heat. But I think I'm kind of well acclimated to it at this point, especially since I'm kind of through the most treacherous part of the mountain areas, like in the Appalachians and the hills of Kentucky. So as it gets flatter, I'm looking forward to kind of hopefully increasing my mileage, but it's also going to be getting hotter and drier.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a trade-off, but I'm looking forward to the challenge.
And Carson, will you remind our audience why you're doing this?
Yeah. So basically, I learned, about the humanitarian crisis in Yemen several months ago, and it really sort of affected me because I felt like not a lot of people know about it, and it kind of became a personal mission of mine to try to do something to help. And I had been planning a cross-country bike ride for a while, so I decided to dedicate the ride to help people in Yemen. And so I contacted Beit al-Mal, which is a charity doing a lot of great work in Yemen today, and we collaborated to make the Bike for Yemen campaign. And if people are interested in learning more or possibly making a contribution, they can go to bikeforyemen.org, and that's bike, the number 4, yemen.org, or they can look it up on Facebook under hashtag Bike for Yemen, and that's bike, the number 4, Yemen.
Perfect. And is that X39 patch still being helpful?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
How's your knee? Last week you said you had to put it on your knee because you'd hurt your knee.
Oh, yeah, it's just some mild discomfort. I mean, what I'm doing is pretty intense physical activity. So, like when it comes to recovery time, I don't have as much time as I might want, to take a break because I'm riding almost every day. But the X39 really does help accelerate my recovery time. And I noticed that, like, if I have a problem area, like, for example, my knee, I noticed that it really does help to alleviate that mild discomfort, and I wake up feeling much, much fresher the next day after I use it.
Well, I'm so glad you have it, and I'm so glad you checked in with us today, Carson, because we definitely want to know where you are every week. So we'll look forward to, you know what, Carson, I'm on vacation next week, so we won't be checking in, but we'll talk the week after, okay? I'll be in touch with you, so we'll make sure we get our times coordinated, okay?
Great. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. In the meantime, you be really safe. Would you like to say goodbye, sir?
Hey, Carson, really proud of you, man. Stay safe, love you, and look forward to talking to you soon.
Thanks, Dad. Appreciate it. Yeah, it was a real surprise to hear you on the Paula Shore radio show.
That was the whole point, pal.
All right, dear. You take good care. Be safe.
Right,
bye-bye, Carson.
Bye-bye.
All right. And we'll be back in just a moment with more from Jim Caldwell, Vice President of Marketing for LifeWave. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back with more Change It Up with Paula Shore on AM 1170, The Answer.
Sometimes life throws you a curve. It can be a health scare, divorce, loss of a job, or death of a loved one. And big changes can make you feel stressed out and anxious, depressed, or unable to sleep. Nothing feels comfortable or safe, and that's a tough place to be. Wouldn't it be nice to have someone to talk it over with? Someone who understands why you feel the way you do and knows how to help. Paula Shore is a life transitions counselor, an expert therapist that can help you deal with unwanted destabilizing change or disruption in your life. Using a variety of mind-body techniques and psychology processes, she helps identify the key issues, eliminating self-sabotage and doubt to get you rapid results. Paula Shore Counseling is open to all people, all ages, and all walks of life. Big life changes can be tough. Paula Shore can help you get through it. Call 858-480-9234. That's 858-480-9234. 858-480-9234.
My business has lost its upward momentum. I'm working up to 14 hours a day, but my sales seem to have plateaued. I'm so overwhelmed.
I used to have that same problem, but ever since I found the Balanced Millionaire Consulting Firm, our sales and profits have risen sharply. Even our staff is more engaged, and the atmosphere is full of energy.
I have no time to work on my business to develop new sales and marketing strategies. I would love to expand, have strategic partnerships, and access to financing.
You can do all of that and more. The Balanced Millionaire Consulting Team advises you on streamlining your operations, establishing alliances, and most importantly, increasing your revenues and profits.
Let us help you build value and reduce stress in your business. Take charge. Don't let your business control your life. Visit thebalancedmillionaire.com or call 442-224-0160 for a free consultation. That's 442-224-0160 or thebalancedmillionaire.com.
Welcome back to Change It Up. Now here's your host, Paula Shore.
Welcome back to Change It Up Radio. I'm Paula Shaw, and I'm delighted to have you here with me today. And I'm also delighted to have my guest in this segment here with me today. And let me tell you a little bit about Jim Caldwell. He is the Vice President of Marketing for LifeWave, our sponsor, and has over 30 years of entrepreneurial business development, creative marketing, television production, and project management experience. The man has been very busy. He met David Schmidt, who you may remember has also been on the show. David is the CEO and founder of LifeWave. He met him almost 15 years ago, and they've been doing work on and off together in all that time. But I think David just finally said, you know what? Let's just snag you permanently and bring you on board because I can't do all this alone. And Jim came on board. So he is now the Vice President of Marketing right here in San Diego. He made a trek across the country, but not nearly as adventurously as his son. He jumped on a plane. So we see that Carson has a lot more spirit of adventure.
Well, now, wait a minute. I drove across the country in 4 days with my younger son because he'd never been on a cross-country trip before. So I said, come on, let's jump in the car. Let me show you what it's like to go 700 miles or 1,100 miles in one day. So you can just get a sense of what that's like. And we stopped in a few places along the way coming from the Philadelphia area out to here. So I was pseudo-adventurous, when, behind the wheel of an air-conditioned car coming out here. So it was a lot of fun.
But road trips are great, aren't they? I love road trips. I'm about to take one on Saturday.
I did a bunch of them as a kid. My parents took us around a lot. And we drove from Chicago to Florida. Or we went from Chicago to Colorado. We did, these kind of things. And then, of course, coming back. And got used to that dynamic of seeing America. Which is interesting for my son now to be doing something, but in a whole different way. It's pretty wild.
When I was in my early 20s, no, actually mid-20s, my brother and I did 3 months, a 3-month trip all over the United States and Canada. It was really, truly one of the highlights of my life.
I lived in South Korea for a year as a kid, as a 14-year-old. And my dad had a consulting contract for about a year, and we were able to go over there as a family. And coming back, we landed in Seattle, and my dad rented a car, and we proceeded to drive around the West for 3 weeks and got to see all the typical iconic places in the West. And, they were always into being on top of a mountain and looking 500 miles to the east or the west and watching the sun go down. So that really affected me as a kid, being exposed to all that beautiful Americana that I think a whole bunch of people don't get to experience.
It's true.
So I was really, in the moment, didn't realize how lucky I was to really get a sense of what the great Western United States is all about.
It's so true. And did you grow up in the East?
I was born in Ohio, and I've lived in 12 states. So I moved out of town when I was 1, I always say, from Akron,
Ohio.
They
kept running you out of state after state after state after that.
People always say, were you an Army brat? I said, no, I was a corporate brat. So my dad moved around a bit, but it was fun. Kind of put, I'm always comfortable in the middle of nowhere, right?
Yeah, and with all kinds of people. So did you spend any time on the West Coast?
Absolutely. Lived in Oregon, went to school in Colorado and Arizona, and lived in California. This is my 3rd time or 4th time living out here. So, I've always been fortunate enough to be able to experience quite a bit. There's only like, I don't know, 3 states I've not been in, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a record.
But that's a whole nother story, right?
So I see that Carson comes by his spirit of adventure through his dad, for sure.
Well, let's face it, he's gone beyond the pale a little bit in terms of him
Yeah.
deciding. Because, I don't know, you put yourself in his shoes, and he's doing something that few people do, right? And
Right.
I'm going to go across the country on a bike. Oh, by the way, I won't wear shoes. I mean,
Yeah.
come on, this is crazy. It's insane.
Well, that's what I thought when I first heard it. And then when I heard the story of why he was doing it,
Yeah.
how he was Googling and Googled where the most starving people in the world, and it was Yemen, and that 85,000 kids had already died. You probably won't need that anymore.
Yeah. Well, it is interesting that he completely on his own. I tend to, with my kids, I've always kind of said, hey, do you need any help? What can I do? Did you know this? I make suggestions or whatever to help them get as much perspective as possible. I'm sure no other parent ever does that.
Never. No, my children have never heard anything like that.
Yeah. And so, but he absolutely, unbeknownst to me, did exactly what he has done. He reached out. He actually did some research relative to charities. Where are there issues? And then he did literally Google where's the largest, crisis in terms of kids starving.
Yeah.
And Yemen came up. And he did some research, discovered this charitable organization, Beitul Mal, and reached out to them and told them what he was going to do. And here he is. And it's been interesting as a parent to watch him on his own, pull that off. And I'm going, you're doing what? And you've pulled in who? And you're going to be really? So I was proud of him that he elected to take some time like that and to dedicate what he's doing to that.
Yeah.
And it's unselfish. He's Dad, I'm not here to make a nickel. If I get out to the West Coast and I've got $1 left in my pocket, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's really about the kids. And I'm
I
like,
know.
wow.
It's really
wonderful.
beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things about millennials is that they say, actually, statistically, is they have more of a worldview. They're much more involved with the world. I think it's partly the internet, too, than we were as kids. And he certainly has that world consciousness.
Yeah.
I mean, you just don't run into that many 24-year-olds that are concerned about children in a country that they have never been to, and don't know.
It's true. It's true. And so now as a result, I mean, think about it. He left, I think, on the 18th or 29th of June.
Yeah.
And now he's been on the road more than 30 days, over 1,000 miles. He's had all kinds of interesting experiences. But in the end, he is remembering the bigger picture. I think he has one or two media moments in St. Louis that he's been, riding toward, knowing that those are coming up. He's had to take some detours a couple times to make a media moment. He points out that normally if he was going across the country just for his own reasons, he'd be going faster. He'd be more intent on doing 80 or 100 miles a day, things like that. But he's taking it slower. And then I think had, as a result, probably been able to appreciate the journey a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the first time I talked to him, I said a lot of people are concerned about giving to a charity because they wonder how much of the money ever actually gets to the people who need it. And boy, he had an answer right away. He knew, he'd already researched what percentage of the money that Beitul Mal gets goes to the country.
Right.
And it's huge. It's way up in the 90%.
Yeah. It's unusual, actually.
Where
Usually,
other big charities, sometimes it's only 50%.
Yeah, if you're above 75 or 80, you're considered to be pretty good in terms of how you allocate resources. But here they are over 90, so it's a good thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I know it's a struggle for them to raise money because who's paying attention to Yemen?
Exactly.
Not a whole bunch of people, right? But they're working at it, and good on them,
And on Carson for trying to raise that awareness.
Yeah, exactly.
So obviously you and your wife did something right in raising that boy. In the meantime, though, you were really busy. You had a television production company, right? Or were you doing infomercials or documentaries, or what were you up to?
Yeah, what the Sam Hill was I doing, right? I don't know. Somewhere along the way, I in my previous life, I hosted a couple of game shows, believe it or not.
You did?
On camera.
Which ones?
Oh, dear. Something called Tic-Tac-Doe. And another one called Top Card. Tic-Tac-Doe was syndicated, and Top Card was seen on a network called the Nashville Network before it became Spike Television, etc. Anyway, I had a lot of free time because we would tape 5 or 6 shows in a day and have several days off. So I was able to spend a lot of time just kind of seeing what the world was all about during that downtime, and I did discover infomercials in 1986. And I ended up starting my own company in '89 and started producing them, hosting them, that kind of thing. Did a whole bunch of them, about 140 of them over 25 years, and had a full-blown career. And along the way, met David Schmidt of LifeWave.
Yeah,
as
that
matter
was
of
going to
fact.
be my next question, as if you just totally perceived where I was going.
Yeah.
Yeah, how did that happen?
Well, the serendipity of life, right? Just one thing leads to another, ping-ponging off of people that tell you about something, and you learn about a technology, and you're going, now, what does this do? And who is this guy? And what has he done? And I was able to meet him a couple weeks after I heard about LifeWave back in, what's 15 years ago? About 2005, something like that. 2004, 2005, yeah. And I knew Suzanne Somers through my business in the whole direct response television business. And once I met David and learned what he was doing with this incredibly interesting technology, I thought, wow, he's got to meet Suzanne Somers, because she is so into holistic, all natural, no drugs, this kind of thing.
And had written many books about it.
Written a whole bunch of books, and so I put them together, and lo and behold, they had a beautiful 10-year run or so of her became the official ambassador of LifeWave, and that was one of the reasons, or one of the ways in which David and I kept in touch over the years. I did a few things with David, produced a few things for him, and the last 2 or 3 years we started talking more, and when he came along with this new, latest version of his technology called X39, and he explained to me, over a year ago, what he had done and what it did, I was really in a state of disbelief. I thought, no, you can't do that, can you? Right? And so we really
said, watch me.
Yeah, we started talking in earnest, and we came up with an arrangement that I couldn't refuse. Let's put it that way, and it just made sense for us to start to really kind of go for it and work together. And I couldn't be more excited about what LifeWave is all about, what we as a company are dedicated to doing, and how effective the technology. As I learned about it lately, I said, David, this is wearable technology that's virtually weightless.
Oh, I love that.
I mean, think about it.
Now, pause right there, because we got to go to a break, but we'll come right back to that wearable technology. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back with more Change It Up with Paula Shore on AM 1170, The Answer.
Jack Gutman survived World War II and then returned home to the hardest fight of his life with PTSD and alcoholism. Now at age 93, he's a businessman and comedian, sharing his message of recovery and hope in his new book, One Veteran's Journey to Heal the Wounds of War, helping our heroes and anyone who has experienced PTSD find happiness again. Get Jack Gutman's new book, One Veteran's Journey to Heal the Wounds of War, at Amazon.com. Or to order a signed copy, call 714-525-4954.
For those looking to improve their lives, there's nobody better to turn to than Paula Shore. Paula helps people regain successful lives by identifying and eliminating self-sabotaging behavior using a multitude of mind-body techniques to identify and resolve their core issues. Working with a wide variety of healing modalities, she provides her clients with the most effective process for their specific needs. To book a session with Paula, call 858-480-9234. That's 858-480-9234.
Welcome back to Change It Up. Now here's your host, Paula Shore.
Welcome back to Change It Up Radio, here with Paula Shaw. And in studio with me today is Vice President of Marketing for LifeWave, Jim Caldwell. And in the end of our last segment, he came up with this great line. Let me see if I can remember it. That these patches are wearable technology that...
They're virtually weightless.
That are virtually weightless. I love that.
I mean, come on, this little thing, it's like nothing.
Yeah.
And yet...
I've always got them on somewhere.
And yet it is sophisticated technology. There's something going on inside that patch when it's exposed to the heat, which is a form of infrared light. And something occurs inside that patch that reflects back that light at a certain frequency. And that communicates at the cellular level with certain bioreceptors. Light is a big player inside the body. Who knew that? Who knows that? You know, it's just crazy, but it's true. And so
we're made of light.
like what, around something like 10 or 12 different types of these patches, shall we say, that do certain things inside the body. And it's intensely unique. Nothing like it. Many patents, over 80 clinical and research studies on the technology. It's real science that I like to say it's settled because he's done so many studies over the years. He's backed up the claims with reputable types of studies that the medical professionals look for. And, skeptical people look for. Well, you got the proof that this stuff works? Well, yeah, we do, actually. So that's the good thing. When he started, he didn't have this. When I met him, he had 1 or 2 studies. When I met him, he had maybe 1 or 2 patents. And now over, I don't know, it's like 100 patents and patents pending worldwide and many more coming. So it's the coolest stuff. It really is.
And I think we should tell our listeners, because some of them may not be familiar with the patches. Like the patches actually they're made, they're obviously adhesive around the outside, but they have crystals, nanocrystals, organically made nanocrystals that are programmed with specific frequencies. So they're giving the body a specific message to do a specific thing, right?
He likes to talk about when it's exposed to the heat of the body, there's a, believe it or not, at the nanotechnology level, at the nano level, there's a self-assembly. We don't need to get into it, but there's a self-assembly of what those things do when they're exposed to the heat, the infrared light, basically. And that causes them to be able to reflect light. And that causes them to be able to reflect light at a certain frequency. I mean, it's almost like a light switch. I talk about it. It really doesn't matter what it does in that sense of how does it do it. It's like a light switch. You walk over to the wall. Do you know how a light switch works? Do you?
No,
you turn it on and there's light.
That's right.
It's like that, I like to say. Put it on your body and watch what happens. And whether you want to sleep better or have more energy or see your inflammation recede or anxiety drop. We were talking about that earlier. Other aspects that the body needs, and this X39, we talk about this.
Before you go to the X39, I just wanted to say something about anxiety, since that was sort of the theme. That Eon patch, which is anti-stress, anti-inflammatory.
And that's spelled AEON, by the way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is one of my favorite tools to use with my clients, because since there are no drugs and no chemicals, there's no danger that it's going to have a bad interaction with something that they're already using. And sometimes they'll come in and they'll be almost fetal ball. They'll be really upset. And the first thing I do is say, may I put a little patch right here on your spine? They're what is it for? It has no drugs and chemicals, but it's anti-stress. And they're like, oh, yeah, cover my back with them if you want to. No problem. So Eon is one of my faves.
And let me take 60 seconds and tell you about something that, to me, is one of the most interesting realities of LifeWave. It works wonderfully on animals as well. Yes. Now, watch this. So there's a fellow that was with David 15 years ago, and he's been with the company forever as an independent distributor. His name's John Chance. He has dedicated his entire 15 years basically to using a form of this technology called AccuLife on horses. Oh, yeah. And I have watched him time after time take a horse that is sitting there at a certain place, let's say on their haunches, their hindquarters, and if you touch it, boom, they kick. And if you're standing there, you've just crushed a leg or hurt a knee or whatever. And he can sit there and put a patch on that location right now, maybe wait 10 seconds, and go back and put his hand in that exact place where the horse previously kicked. Doesn't kick now. Now, as far as I'm concerned, horses don't have an agenda. Horses don't lie. There is no placebo effect. Right. I've watched it. To me, it's fascinating that, when you think about the biological systems of a living thing, there's a horse, right? Nerves, blood, muscle, bones. Okay, slap a patch on, fix a problem. When I saw that, I said, oh, this is crazy, wonderful science. It really is. LifeWave.
We use them on my granddog all the time. He was having seizures, and we put an X39 on him, which we're going to talk about in a minute, and he stopped having seizures. So I swear by them for animals too. And I know we have people who are members of the community who are veterinarians that are having great experiences using them with animals.
And LifeWave is our pain mitigation technology, reducing pain. And I got to tell you, if I've heard one, I've heard 100 stories of people that have been in pain. They've been on drugs. They can't get rid of it, whatever that is. And I'm talking about pain that's chronic. They've had it for years. And okay, I'll try LifeWave. All right, what is this again? They're skeptical. They're expecting it not to work because nothing's ever worked.
Right.
And they play around with positioning a little bit. It's 2 patches, and you work through the protocol. And the next thing you know, their pain has gone from 9 to 2, or 10 to 1, or 8 to 0, and in a span of 60 seconds or 90 seconds.
Yeah.
And they're in a state of disbelief. And often we are too, because even though the technology works and you've seen it work so many times, every time you see it work, you always say, this stuff's amazing.
Yeah,
you do.
It really is.
Yeah.
It was LifeWave, actually, that brought me on board.
Really?
Yeah, Cherie Santos was talking to me one day, and my back was killing me because I'd slept on at my mother's house where the mattress is not my own.
Right.
And I said, oh, yeah, I got this low back pain. She goes, I've got something that might help you. And I'm like, no, I'm not taking any drugs.
There you go.
Everybody loves to pull their little bottle of meds out of their purse.
Right.
Nope, she gives me these 2 patches, and I'm like, really? Really? And she goes, just put them on.
Yeah.
So I did.
Yeah.
And I mean, and I went in the ladies' room, put them on because I had to get them on my low back. And as I'm walking out to meet her again, I'm like, oh my God, this is actually taking the pain away.
Right.
It was that fast.
Yeah.
So that's how I came on board. Let's tell them about the X39 because that's my favorite now.
Yeah. David has spent a long time gently moving toward the world of what he likes to call longevity, age reversal. And he is a research scientist's research scientist. He is an inventor at heart.
Yes.
He looks upon himself as an inventor, and he's been able to do so many things with these patches. He one day decided, I wonder if I could figure out a way to activate stem cells. And what would that mean? And how would I do that? So he spent a long time and learned about something called copper peptide. This is a naturally occurring element in the body that research that goes back something like 50 years by a fellow by the name of Dr. Lauren Pickard. He's like the father of copper peptide. He's learned so many things about what a copper peptide does inside the body. And that when you're in pain or when you got a problem, there's a preponderance of copper peptide found at that site. Well, it's not there. You don't have the pain or the problem or the wound because of it. No, it goes there to help to heal it sooner, quicker, faster. So David learned that, well, gosh, if I could figure out a way to elevate a copper peptide or help them be more effective, that might help in the arena. And he learned along the way that they help. They're always there in terms of stem cells, and they activate stem cells, keep them like reset to a younger, more youthful state. So he learned all this. So he said, I'm going to elevate copper peptide. That's what I'm going to try to do. And he did it. And so as a result, when you slap this, when you place
yes.
the X39.
We place ours. He slaps his.
Anywhere on your body. It just doesn't matter where you put it. You notice this amazing rainbow of benefits.
Yes.
The body just operates better as a result. I mean,
totally true.
You're 30, 40, 50. My son, he's 24. He's using X39, right? And he notices he has more, he recovers quicker. You ride 70, 80, 90 miles, your body's sore.
And he told me his skin's clear.
Okay, exactly.
Yeah.
So the list of benefits that come from more energy, better sleep, wound healing. I mean, you get injured, you have a cut, you find it just seems to close quicker. Scar, they call it scar remodeling.
Oh, yeah.
If you have a scar that's been noticeable, perhaps for years and years.
And let's don't forget the one we ladies love most, increased collagen production.
Yeah, skin. People, this whole thing of looking more youthful,
Yeah.
seemingly being more vibrant in your appearance, it's all because stem cells are like the building blocks of the body, and that when they're more active, when they're more able to do what they're designed to do, especially as you get older, they go down in effectiveness. Here comes X39, they come up in effectiveness. So that's why people notice the changes, and it's powerful stuff.
It's really powerful stuff, and we will be talking more about it on future shows. And of course, you know, I'm crazy about these patches. I'm always talking about them, but unfortunately, we've come to the end of our time. So, Jim, I want to thank you so much.
You're welcome.
For being my guest today.
You bet.
And thank you to my listeners. You know that you can hear us on KCBQ AM 1170, The Answer, and 96.1 FM every Sunday evening at 9 o'clock. We're on iHeartRadio, Blog Talk Radio, and every major podcast platform. So look for us. Look for our Change It Up Radio Facebook page, our Instagram, you know, and all that stuff. ChangeItUpRadio.com is where you can go to hear past shows and find out information about being a guest or a sponsor on the show. And if you want to know more about me, you can find that out at paulashaw.com. So thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye. Thank you, Jim.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Change It Up with life transitions expert, speaker, and best-selling author Paula Shore. Join the Change It Up movement with Paula Shore as we explore topics that inspire, welcome change, and create a new kind of conversation. To learn more about Paula, how to be a guest on the show, and sponsorship opportunities, visit ChangeItUpRadio.com. Whether you're feeling happy, sad, mad, or glad, it never hurts to change it up.
To our Facebook live stream viewers, we're so happy to have had you with us. And please come back again next week and see us. And Jim, would you like to say goodbye to the Facebook viewers?
Well, sure. It's been a fast hour. It does zip by when you're doing this kind of thing, and so I respect the way you carry the show and having a great conversation. By the way, if anybody wants to get a hold of me, it's marketing@lifewave.com.
Oh, yes.
Happy to take an email, and if you got a specific question, want to know more. We're always looking for sharp, talented people to help us spread the word, that's for sure. So
great.
Yeah, anything's possible.
So they can reach you at marketing@lifewave.com.
Correct.
Okay, perfect. All right, thanks to all of you for being here, and we'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.
So long.